In this video, we are going to talk about low-pass filters. Let's start with a simple example. Imagine we have two buzzers producing two different tones. One produces a low-pitch sound, and the other produces a high-pitch sound. Both can operate independently. Now, suppose we place a microphone nearby. The microphone picks up both sounds together as a single signal. So if we look at the microphone's output voltage, we see a waveform like this. These voltage variations show how the sound changes over time during that moment. But what if we want to know which buzzer is active at a particular moment? How can we separate the low-pitch signal from the high-pitch signal? That's where filters come in. Think about how a coffee filter works. It separates materials based on particle size. When water mixed with coffee grounds is poured through the filter, the liquid coffee passes through while the larger coffee particles are blocked. Electronic filters work in a very similar way. In electronics, a filter is a circuit that separates signals based on frequency. Some frequencies are allowed to pass through, while others are weakened or blocked. In electronics, there are several types of filters. The most common are low-pass filters and high-pass filters. If we only want low-frequency signals, we need a circuit that allows low frequencies to pass through while reducing high frequencies. A circuit that does this is called a low-pass filter. And if we only want high-frequency signals, we need a circuit that does the opposite, allowing high frequencies to pass through while reducing low frequencies. That type of circuit is called a high-pass filter. And in this video, we're going to focus on low-pass filters. Now, let's move on to our project. Remember, these two buzzers operate at different frequencies. One produces a low-frequency sound, while the other produces a high-frequency sound. So, the microphone output contains both frequencies mixed together in a single voltage signal. Our goal is to detect only the low-pitch buzzer, while reducing the high-pitch signal. At first, this might sound a little complicated. How can a simple circuit tell the difference between frequencies and reduce unwanted signals? But as you'll see, the idea is actually much simpler than it sounds. Let's start with a simple voltage divider circuit. You may remember the voltage divider equation. This equation tells us that the output voltage is just a fraction of the input voltage. If R1 becomes smaller or R2 becomes larger, the output voltage increases. And if R2 becomes smaller or R1 becomes larger, the output voltage decreases. But there's a problem. In a normal voltage divider, both resistor values stay constant at every frequency. So the circuit treats low-frequency and high-frequency signals exactly the same way. That means this circuit cannot work as a filter by itself. To build a real filter, we need one of these values to change with frequency. This is where capacitors and inductors come into play. When we combine capacitors or inductors with resistors, we get RC and RL circuits. If you're completely new to RC and RL circuits, I recommend watching our previous video first. It'll make this much easier to understand. But for now, let's focus on one important idea. When we analyze RC and RL circuits, we notice something interesting. In an RC circuit, the capacitor reacts differently at different frequencies. As the frequency increases, the capacitor allows current to flow more easily. But in an RL circuit, the inductor does the opposite. As the frequency increases, the inductor resists the current more strongly. So capacitors and inductors naturally respond differently to different frequencies. And that's exactly what makes them useful for filters. Using these components, we can build circuits that allow certain frequencies to pass through while reducing others. Now let's build our first low-pass filter using a capacitor, an RC low-pass filter. To understand how it works, let's start again with our voltage divider circuit. Since this circuit contains only resistors, we can write the output voltage, which is the voltage across R2, like this. So the output voltage is simply a fraction of the input voltage. Now, let's replace the R2 resistor with a capacitor and see what happens. So what is the output voltage now, the voltage across the capacitor? Remember, this circuit now contains both resistance and capacitive reactance. So to calculate the voltage, we need to use the RC circuit version of Ohm's law, which uses reactance and impedance instead of only resistance. If you're not familiar with impedance yet, I recommend watching our previous video first. The link is in the description. In an RC circuit, if the input signal has a frequency f, we can calculate the capacitive reactance and impedance using these formulas. By combining these equations, we get an impedance that changes with frequency. Now try to read the equations carefully. As the frequency increases, the capacitive reactance decreases. In simple terms, the capacitor becomes easier for high-frequency signals to pass through. And because the reactance becomes smaller, the total impedance of the circuit also decreases. Now let's substitute these values into our output voltage equation. After simplifying, we get the final equation for the RC low-pass filter. Now let's analyze this equation. According to this relationship, as the frequency decreases, the output voltage increases. And as the frequency increases, the output voltage decreases. So high-frequency signals become weaker, while low-frequency signals pass through more easily. At very low frequencies, the capacitor behaves almost like an open circuit, so most of the input voltage appears at the output. But as the frequency increases, the capacitor provides an easier path for current, causing the output voltage to drop. So high-frequency signals become weaker and weaker at the output. By choosing different values for the resistor and capacitor, we can control which frequencies pass through the filter and which frequencies become attenuated. In other words, the resistor and capacitor values determine how the filter responds to different frequencies. For example, let's choose R equals 10 kiloohms, C equals 33 nanofarads. Let's substitute these values into our equation. Our equation now becomes like this. Now let's see how this filter output responds to different input frequencies. For a 150 Hz signal, the output voltage is about 0.95 times the input voltage, so almost the entire low-frequency signal passes through the filter. But for a 1500 Hz signal, the output drops to only about 0.3 times the input voltage, so the high-frequency signal becomes much weaker. Do you see the idea? Let's visualize it so everything becomes clearer. If both signals are mixed together at the input, the output waveform would look something like this. The 150 Hz signal remains almost untouched, while the 1500 Hz signal is greatly reduced in magnitude. So it's clear that the RC low-pass filter allows most low-frequency signals to pass through while reducing high-frequency signals. We can build a low-pass filter using an inductor as well. In an RL low-pass filter, the inductor replaces one of the resistors in the voltage divider circuit. So this circuit now contains both resistance and inductive reactance. The output is taken across the resistor, so we calculate it using the resistor's resistance and the total impedance of the circuit. We discussed how to calculate inductive reactance and impedance in our earlier video, so if anything feels unclear, you can watch the video linked in the description. After simplifying the circuit equations, we get the output equation for the RL low-pass filter. The overall behavior is very similar to the RC filter. At very low frequencies, the inductor's reactance is very small, so the output voltage remains almost equal to the input voltage. But as the frequency increases, the inductor's reactance also increases. That means low-frequency signals pass through the filter with very little reduction, while high-frequency signals become attenuated. By choosing different values for the resistor and inductor, we can control which frequencies pass through the filter and which frequencies become attenuated. For example, let's choose R equals 100 ohms, L equals 33 millihenries. Let's substitute these values into our equation. Our equation now becomes like this. Now, let's see how this filter output responds to different input frequencies. For a 150 Hz signal, the output voltage is about 0.95 times the input voltage, so almost the entire low-frequency signal passes through the filter. But for a 1500 Hz signal, the output drops to only about 0.3 times the input voltage, so the high-frequency signal becomes much weaker. Do you see the idea? Let's visualize it so everything becomes clear. If both signals are mixed together at the input, the output waveform would look something like this. The 150 Hz signal remains almost untouched, while the 1500 Hz signal is greatly reduced in magnitude. So it's clear that the RL low-pass filter allows most low-frequency signals to pass through while reducing high-frequency signals. With that, we've covered the basics of low-pass filters, but there's one important thing you should know. A first-order low-pass filter does not perfectly separate frequencies. It reduces high frequencies gradually, so a small portion of the high-frequency signal still remains. If we want much stronger filtering, we need higher-order filters, such as second-order or third-order filters. With that, we've covered the basics of low-pass filters. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support helps us create more science and electronics videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.